Hey everybody, Jeff Yenser, CreativeMusicGenius.com, and today we got rolling Zenbeats, and we're going to use Scalar 2.7 in live sync. I love this new live sync mode, and we got BEATHAWK in here, right? So far this is really all I got is BEATHAWK loaded up in here, and I like it because I can choose from 16 different instruments to work with. Now, there's a very important setting that I should show you in BEATHAWK right off the bat for this to work correctly. If you go to Preferences and you go to MIDI Audio, the first three options underneath MIDI should be unchecked, right? Send Omni on pads, MIDI select, and send to selected pads should all be off. That's what makes this work correctly the way we're setting it up today, right? So I've got kind of a hot saw sound there and a more pad hot saw, and I got kind of an organ sound there, right? I've got a guitar sound up there. So I've got a variety of sounds in here that I can choose from if I want. So what I'm going to do is, you can see I've got the BEATHAWK AU window open. Up here is a little box with 4 squares. Okay, so we click on these little 4 squares up here in the corner of BEATHAWK, and we see this MIDI effect. So I'm going to click MIDI effect, and I'm going to come over here and click Scalar 2. Now you notice I got my favorites. I got it in my favorites because there's a long list of otherwise. So I'm going to pick Scalar 2, and it loads up. There it is. Okay, close that. I'm going to go back to BEATHAWK. I'm going to click this again, and I'm going to go MIDI effect again, and I'm going to pick Scalar 2. I got 2 of them in there. So now I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to go back to BEATHAWK. And I'll click the little 4 squares, MIDI effect again, Scalar 2. So now I've got 3 of them. So that's what I want. And I'm going to go to the first one, and I'm going to go over here to this menu where I'm going to find MIDI channel. Now I'm going to pick MIDI channel 2. Now what that's going to do is, in theory, it should trigger okay, so here's pad number 2 in BEATHAWK, right? If you start at the bottom left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, right? Those correspond to the 16 MIDI channels. So okay, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to turn on this incredible live sync, right? And I'm going to press it at the bottom there, the bottom choice, and it's going to synchronize my chords, my timing, and my voicing, right? But nothing else, right? So that means I can change the performance and other things to make it sound different and not affect the other instances. So now you notice this says leader flashing down here. Let me get my mouse. Was I using my mouse before? It says leader flashing down here. And if I go to my other instances, if I go to Scalar number 2, it says follow, right? And number 3 says follow. So now I'm going to go back to the first one, and I'm going to take this chord progression at the top. I'm going to highlight all the chords, and I'm going to drag them down into section C. That's the part that synchronizes, is section C. So I got all those chords. Let me just hit play real quick. Get a preview of what they sound like. Okay. And now if I go to number 2, Scalar number 2, you see it's got the same set of chords in there, right? And you'll notice this is MIDI channel 1, right? Which, if you go over here to BEATHAWK, That's the sound it's playing, right? Only at a lower pitch. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to MIDI channel again, change it to 3. Okay. This gives me that pad sound, that string sound, right? Which it, again, if we go to BEATHAWK, see how that lines up? You hear that same sound right there. So now let's go to instance 3. Let's set this MIDI channel. Let's try 4. Let's see, we get that sound. Okay, so each one has a different sound, right? They all share the same chord progression. So let's go up to the performance here and let's pick a rhythm. This one. Okay, so that's got a little beat to it. Sounds good. Let's go to the second one. Let's pick an arpeggio, up, down, and we'll keep one just as is, right? Let's come here and hit save. Good idea. In case it crashes again, hit play. Are we on? Do we have DAW sync turned on? Let's see. Let's make sure that we're in the leader, right? Because it actually does synchronize this also, even though it didn't say so earlier. Turn that on and hit play. I could be wrong about that because it's only playing one of them. I guess we got to go and turn DAW sync on in each one. Okay, go to the third one and turn on DAW sync there. Now it's playing all 3 voices, right? We can add some drums. Right, let's pick go back to the leader. Let's turn loop on. Hit play. Of course, you could go ahead and change these sounds to anything that you like, right? It sounds a little weird right now, but you get the idea, right? So you can create all sorts of parts, right? You could add more instances of scalar in there. You could, right? You could use. The key is to use a multi-timbral synth like BEATHAWK that's capable of receiving on more than one MIDI channel at once, right? And playing a different sound on each of those MIDI channels, right? Groove Rider is another example of an app that will do that. So fast forward a couple of days on this project, and I spent a little bit of time tweaking the sounds and adjusting the performance inside of a couple of these scalars, right? So I didn't make a lot of changes, but a couple little changes. It sounds much better already. Yes, it's a work in progress. It could use a bass track. It's ready for someone to start playing live along with it. I mean, it tells you what the chords are, right? So I want to hear your creations. Post links on my website, what you made, and let me hear you shine on. Be sure to visit creativemusicgenius.com and hit the tip jar or the donate button. I appreciate all the help